Hello there, you're watching Viewpoint on CNN News 18. I'm Maha Siddiqui. The state of Punjab has been on high alert since the beginning of this week, and yet a place that should ideally be well guarded and secure. A court premises saw a massive blast yesterday. A man managed to slip inside. Allegedly, he was assembling the explosives in the washroom when it went off. The blast and the brazen manner in which this dastardly act was conducted, along with the previous cases of sacrilege, lynching and drones dropping arms, all these beg a question. Why was Punjab's guard down, that too, when a high-voltage election is just round the corner? Do successive law and order issues indicate that holding the polls in Punjab will be fraught with challenges? That's our debate this evening on Viewpoint.
केंद्र सरकार के गृह सचिव द्वारा बार बार इस बात के लिए आगाह किया गया था, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से पंजाब की सरकार ने इसे गंभीरता के साथ में नहीं लिया।
ये अपने वास्ते कोई बहुत बड़ी गल नहीं है।
माहौल को बिगाड़ने के लिए जो तथ्य काम कर रहे हैं देश के अंदर या देश के बाहर, उसके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई किया जाएगा।
All right, let's go across to our guest. Joining us here on the show, Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Vipin Pabi, senior journalist, will be joining us shortly. MP Nathanel, security expert and former IGCRPF, Vijay Shankar Pandey, former bureaucrat. Adil, I want to come first to you because allegations are being made that while the Congress was busy putting its house in order in Punjab, law and order has been compromised. Adil, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Adil.
Baha, the allegations
are utter buncombe. They're politically motivated allegations which need to be rejected with all the responsibility at my command. There is a conspiracy which is afoot, a conspiracy to divide communities on the eve of the elections to garner political advantage. The Punjab police is an extremely efficient and a competent force. All intelligence inputs were taken on record. Unfortunately, this blast happened. The SIT has been constituted, and we will very soon unearth the entire conspiracy and expose the agent provocateurs who want to divide our country on religious lines, on societal lines, for political advantage.
Adil, but the question is here not just about the blast, but the brazen manner in which this person attempted the explosion as well. Allegedly, it is the same person who died in this blast who actually went into the washroom and was assembling the explosives when they went off. Also, what we have seen in the week, cases of sacrilege and lynching as well. All this should have kept the police, the security personnel at high alert in Punjab. Why wasn't that done?
What makes you say that the police was not on high alert? The police was indeed on high alert. And the investigation is underway. I am neither an investigator nor a court of law. I'm a representative of a political party.
Sure.
The investigation is being done in a very impartial and a non-partisan manner. Now, there are certain vested interests who want to derive political mileage out of everything. I leave that to them. The people of Punjab know better.
Who are you pointing your fingers at?
I'm not pointing my finger at anybody because everything is under investigation yet. However, prima facie, if you join the dots and if you see the timing, there appears to be a larger conspiracy afoot. But as a responsible spokesperson of a responsible political party, I will reserve my judgment. Let the investigation conclude. The truth will come out.
Okay.
I can't second guess sitting in a TV studio from Delhi. The investigation is underway. The truth will come out, rest assured.
Tohin, even though law and order is a state issue, in a poll-bound state, which is a border state as well, the centre and the state need to work in tandem. Is it a failure of both then?
Well, Maha, there is no doubt that Punjab is a sensitive state, and the casual, if not complicit, attitude of Channi and Sidhu have put Punjab in deep trouble. And this was pointed out not just by us, but first by Captain Amrinder Singh, who had clearly mentioned that a person like Sidhu is a national security threat. I'm not using those words. It is Captain Amrinder Singh who used those words. But I think a few weeks ago, Channi had convened a special, special session of assembly to protest against the empowered, the greater powers being given to BSF on an expanded area of 50 kilometers. And he had even questioned Article 370. So with these things, you definitely give a signal to the terrorists and to Khalistani organizations that you are soft upon them, and why they are doing it is something they need to answer.
Let me go across to Adil for that allegation that has been made against Navjot Singh Sidhu. He is your PPCC chief, and that allegation coming against him.
Captain Amrinder Singh made it.
Sure. Adil, answer that.
Maha, this gentleman doesn't understand the A of Punjab, but be that as it may, the investigation is underway. We don't know who it is. Unless the gentleman knows who it is, perhaps we can then tell the investigative agency to summon him and he can share his information. Where is he getting this information from? Don't interrupt. Hear me out. Let's not shout over each other.
Who are you to decide whether I understand or not? You must be an ignorant person. Who are you to pass a declaration of whether I understand Punjab or not? Have I questioned your understanding?
Adil, he's saying why question his knowledge about Punjab? Answer the question that he has raised, that Captain Amrinder Singh had called, who was a former chief minister from your own party, had been questioning Navjot Singh Sidhu. That's a very serious allegation being made against your PPCC chief.
Provided you give me time to answer.
Please
Captain
speak.
Amrinder Singh has always been in cahoots with the BJP, and that's quite evident now. But I want to come to what the gentleman said. How does he know it's X or Y? When the SIT has not given a definitive opinion, when none of us know who really did it, who is really behind it, how does he know that X organization has done it, or Y organization has done it, or Z organization has done it? Has the SIT called him up and told him that X organization has done it?
All right.
So let's not jump the gun. Let's not speculate. The gentleman doesn't understand Punjab.
Okay. I'll stop you there because I want to go across to the other two panelists on our show as well. I'll come back to you, Tuhin. MP Nathaniel, while one understands that for security forces, 100% strike rate is important, but for the miscreants, even one chance is good enough. But shouldn't court premises be fully secure, especially when you know on a working day the footfall is high and, the security aspect, considering that there are many gates, many doors leading into the court complex? Shouldn't it be secure? We have seen this case in Ludhiana where metal detectors were not working apparently.
Well, the problem is there has definitely been some intelligence failure to the extent that they have not said exactly that the explosion would take place or any incident would take place near the court or inside the court. But even otherwise, in September, there was an incident in Delhi. That should have sent a message to everybody that courts are as vulnerable as any other place. And mainly because it's quite crowded and the miscreants would like to take this opportunity to cause maximum casualty in such places. So number one, there has been intelligence failure. Number two, I think the CCTVs there have not been working. Number three, the gates have not been manned at all. And because of their not manning, everybody had a free access to the court. So anybody coming with a weapon or explosive also could go scot-free and nobody would be able to detect it. Now that the NBTC has arrived there, now they'll be able to throw light on that matter as to what kind of an explosive it was and the kind of casualty that took place. What was it due to? This will all be brought out in course of time
Which-
after the NBTC.
All right, I'll interrupt you there,
NBTC is
sir,
a
because I
national
want to take the point
bomb
that
data
you've made
center.
about intelligence failure. Vijay Pandey, who is responsible for intelligence failure? Because there are multiple agencies looking into security aspect, and even though law and order is a state subject, as I was pointing out, in the case of Punjab, which is a border state, clearly the responsibility cannot only be with the state.
Maha, you are absolutely right, because it's a very sensitive issue and things were happening in the past. Say on the Sacrilege case, and then the lynching, and then this blast, took place. So this should have given enough indication to our intelligence agency, both the central and the state, that they have to be on guard and they have to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Secondly, the drills are made to really, ensure that all the campuses, all the safety and all. But unfortunately, these drills that are laid out are not kept intact always. Like, it's being mentioned that the CCTV cameras were not working, gates were not manned, or the instruments were not working. This should not happen at all. Looking at the scenario of Punjab security issue, we have to be perfectly on guard all the time, day and night, 24/7, so that nothing goes wrong. The police, local police, has to be totally on guard. And central government has to provide all the requisite intelligence. Intelligence-wise, state government does have the mechanism, but central government has onerous responsibility of, manning the intelligence issues of a state like Punjab, which is very sensitive and has been on the boil for a long period of time.
Let me go across to Vipin Pabbi. Vipin, what have the police in Punjab been saying? Because yesterday we heard repeatedly that no, there is no failure from our end. The state has been on high alert. We have kept a watch out on any activity that could lead to any untoward incident. And yet we saw that blast in Ludhiana, despite the fact that a sacrilege case took place, there was lynching, and there have been drone droppings as well.
Yes, you are right, Maha. In fact, last few days have seen variety of incidents taking place, and there is definitely a pattern to it. And there had been warnings coming in, earlier also from intelligence agencies that Pakistan is, is getting activated again. And one of the evidence was the new weapon that they are using these days, that is a drone. And drones have been coming in deep into Indian territory. I was reading somewhere that at least 46 incidents of drone sightings near the border have been seen in the last couple of months. And there must be many, many more such instances which has not been noted. So things were, it appeared that there could be problems coming up, particularly also when the elections are close, and that's exactly what is happening. So I think the state intelligence needed to be a little more alert on it. Unfortunately, they have been changing their DGPs. I think at least 3 DGPs they've changed in a couple of months. And also the focus has not been as much on security, which should have been there. I mean, they need to be extra alert now that the elections are just 2 months away. And even if you look at the Punjab's past history, you find these kind of incidents taking place just before the election.
Adil Bopara, do you want to respond to that? Because this is again repeatedly being pointed out that the government may have been lax, or at least not as alert as they should have been as far as the law and order situation. Did the government not anticipate this flare-up?
The previous speaker appears to know more than the DGP of Punjab and the Home Secretary of Punjab. What more can I say? Perhaps the services should be utilized by the Punjab government, but be that as it may, there were 2 gentlemen who made a very, very valid point about court premises. There have been 2 incidents in Rohini Court. So yes, I agree with them, and that Rohini Court happens to be in New Delhi, happens to be the capital of this country. So I agree with the larger template that we need to strengthen security at court complexes. So this is not just a Punjab-centric problem, as some Western interests may want us to believe. This is a pan-India problem. But coming to
Adil,
your
but
question
in
about...
Punjab, we have seen a pattern, as was pointed out by the previous speaker. That is what he was joining the dots.
I agree there is a pattern, Maha. I said this right at the starting, there is a pattern. There is a conspiracy. Let me go further. There is a conspiracy afoot to divide communities and create a sense
that's exactly
of fear
what
psychosis.
I asked you. Who are you pointing your finger at when you talk about conspiracy?
Maha, I wish I was the investigating officer, but the matter is under investigation. This is a sensitive investigation. I am not an irresponsible individual to take names and jump to conclusions and rush to speculations. I'm not in that business of crystal ball gazing.
Alleging or putting out a conspiracy theory pretty much does that, doesn't it, Adil?
The fact is that there were 2 incidents of attempted sacrilege at the Darbar Sahib, the Harmandir Sahib, the Golden Temple, on the eve of the elections. Then there is a blast in Ludhiana. All this is happening right before the election. Nothing happened over the past 4 years, 5 years. Now, I don't know which organization is doing it. Perhaps the previous speaker knows. I don't know. The SIT has not told us which organization has done it. Perhaps the BJP spokesperson knows. So therefore, let the investigation conclude. Maha, you and I or the others can't jump to conclusions. That's my limited point.
Toheen,
but rest assured, we will get to the bottom of the truth.
All right, Toheen. The other point that has come across, and you also referred to it, saying Captain Amrinder Singh has called Navjot Singh Sidhu a threat in himself for the state of Punjab, and primarily pointing to the fact that he's been going across the border and there have been allegations against him after he hugged General Bajwa in Pakistan. When Pakistan and the country comes into play over here, considering Punjab is a border state, doesn't the matter immediately become more important than just Punjab managing that issue? That was the question I started off with, Toheen, and I want your response again, because one speaker specifically spoke about Pakistan drone droppings.
Well, absolutely. The centre has asked for a detailed report from the Punjab government on the blast, and the centre is very cognizant of the issue. We are keeping a very close tab. My limited point, which unfortunately the Congress spokesperson
all this
was
is
not able to
happening
comprehend.
After a blast has happened, after sacrilege incident happened, after a lynching has happened, after the drone droppings have happened.
You will seek a report after the blast.
No, but the point is that you have to be alert when there is a sequence of events happening.
No, absolutely. And over here, please, while I completely agree with you, law and order happens to be a state subject. My limited point was that given the volatile situation, given the sensitive situation that exists in Punjab, if barely a few weeks ago, the CM of Punjab very notoriously likens the centre's decision to expand the domain of BSF by 50 kilometers to the decision of abrogation of Article 370, and in turn questions Article 370, is very clearly giving a wrong message to extremists. Is it a very difficult point to comprehend?
MP Nathaniel, I want your response to that. Is Punjab, or for the matter, even West Bengal, objected to the jurisdiction of the BSF being increased? Does it have to do anything with what we are seeing at the moment? I mean, even if that jurisdiction wasn't increased, even if there was some sort of a disagreement between the states and the centre, a state that is going to the polls, a state that has the potential to flare up and where there have been a sequence of events, is this a failure on both counts by the state and the centre as well?
In fact, BSF has been given this extension of up to 50 kilometers. There's a reason behind it. And in any case, even if the guys are apprehended, the ones who intrude into our country across the border, once they intrude, they are then handed over to the civil police. It is not that the BSF alone would be handling everything. Once they apprehend a guy, they have to perforce hand over the miscreant to the civil police only. And so it really doesn't matter much whether it is 15 kilometers or 50 kilometers. But then the center and state both have the responsibility of guarding our borders, and they'll definitely take action accordingly.
Also, Vijay Pandey, there is a whole question that was raised by the Chief Minister of Punjab yesterday about the crackdown on the drug cartel. According to him, it could be linked to that as well. Can, these incidents be related to that crackdown?
See, nothing can be said with confidence about what has happened and who is behind it, because, investigation is on. These kind of incidents, you can't just say off the cuff that, the cartels are behind it or anything. But, Punjab has been facing this drug menace for so many years. And, it's such a serious proportion it has taken that, the whole generation of, young people are getting involved in that, and the state is in a very big mess. So it is a very big issue, and all the governments who rule the state are responsible for that, for not taking care of this menace. But linking drug cartels with this incident, one can't say with confidence. Let the investigation be completed, because the agencies are very competent, and Punjab police has done it in the past also, and they have fought with militancy, and they have done a good work in the past. So let's hope that they crack this case and we get the truth. Who were the people behind this blast?
Vipin Pabi, has the Chief Minister or any other official or minister joined the dots on as to why they are under this belief that it could also be the crackdown on the drug cartel that could have led to these kind of sequence of events of law and order that we're seeing in Punjab?
So far, the Chief Minister and other ministers are not coming out very categorically onto what or who are the powers behind it. Drugs, I don't think so. Okay, that could be one of the reasons, immediate reasons, because it doesn't really link up directly with the blast. But yes, several other issues that are there, and several. With the elections coming in, there are several, parties who may stand to benefit from this, diverting attention perhaps or whatever. So that could also not be ruled out with the sacrilege incidents that have taken place. But I will just come to that point about the blast, as someone was just mentioning about the Delhi blast, for instance, in the court complex. Now, finally, it turned out it wasn't a terrorist attack. It was some professor, DRDO or something, and he caused that blast. But in Punjab, it is different. In Punjab, a blast would mean wider implication. It can't be just somebody's personal vendetta who's trying to take. So because of the past history of Punjab, or what we have gone through in Punjab over the last 3 or 4 decades, so it is important to investigate. So far, none of the organizations have actually claimed responsibility. Otherwise, in the past, several organizations, underground organizations, will claim responsibility for this blast. Nobody has done it. Although the reports indicate that some Sikh organization based out on Pakistan could be the mastermind behind it, but it's very, very difficult to say at this moment.
Vipin, I think the point Adil was trying to make with regards to comparing the blast in the Rohini court to the one in Ludhiana is about how it is possible to slip into court premises and carry out such an attack. But of course, your point is very valid that in Punjab, it definitely has larger implications, especially on the eve of polls. Adil, we have the final 2 minutes left. I want to give it to you and Tuhin. In this case now, particularly going forward, what are you seeing in the state of Punjab as far as polls are concerned? Is it going to be a huge challenge considering the law and order situation currently?
Well, Maha, our analysis is that there are certain forces which are play, which want to create a sense of fear amongst communities. And the fact that this is happening clearly close to the elections has political overtones. But be that as it may, like I said earlier, it is too premature to speculate who is behind it. It is easy for me to say, well, X agency is behind it, or Y agency is behind it, or Z agency is behind it, but that is mere speculation, conjecture, and surmises. The only way we can come to the bottom of the truth is once the investigation is concluded. And let me assure your viewers, the Punjab police is in safe hands. The investigating team is conducting the investigation in an extremely non-partisan way. Let us not jump the gun. It is very easy. It is tempting to jump the gun and blame X and blame Y. We are committed to ensuring law and order, but let's not lose sight of the fact that there are forces which like dividing people on religious lines for political advantage. That certainly doesn't benefit the Congress party. So all these angles are currently being investigated.
Last 30 seconds left, so I'll give it to Tuhin. Tuhin, similar allegations were made during West Bengal elections. Mamata Banerjee made the allegations that law and order is something that her opponents, that is the BJP in the state of West Bengal, was creating issues just to create distractions and to give a sense that West Bengal is not safe. I think similar allegations coming forward this time as well against the BJP. How do you react to that? And that will be the final question.
Such allegations are highly imaginative, if not fictitious entirely. But the larger point is we have always believed there should be no politics on the issue of national security. And when I say this, we have been very consistent in supporting Amrinder Singh on the issue of national security. Even when he was in the Congress, for the last 5 years, you can check our records. We have never questioned his credentials. But yes, there are certain elements in the Congress and in fact even in the Aam Aadmi Party. In 2017, one of the AAP candidates, the person managing that AAP candidate was a member of the banned organization of Khalistanis. So yes, I mean some elements within the Congress need to
we have completely run out of time. We've completely run out of time. Many thanks to all five of you for joining us here on this debate this evening. Clearly, in the run-up to the Punjab elections, because of the incidents of law and order that we've witnessed, certainly it will be an uphill task conducting the elections there. But the Election Commission has managed to conduct smooth elections, and therefore all eyes on them now. Taking a very quick break now. News and updates will continue. Stay with us.